Hi everybody, Dr. Shadi Ireifej here, surgeon at TrueCare for Pets, Studio City, Los Angeles. Today we're going to talk about a topic here on Vet Talks. Let's pause for a minute. That is one that I encountered this week at the office. We're going to talk about meetings, veterinary meetings specifically, but meetings in general at the workplace. And so nobody likes the word meetings. If you don't go to meetings, you feel really cool if you finally get to go to them. If you go to lots of meetings, you realize how much torture they could be. And of course everything in between. So we'll talk about what the purpose of meetings are and why people hate them, and then of course how we tend to do it at TrueCare. So first of all, the purpose of meetings, although maybe obvious, is to get everybody on the same page. That's really what the ideal goal is of a meeting. The meeting should not be aimed at reprimanding individuals or groups of people. Obviously, of course, that is part of the learning process, is you're going to try and better the group and make sure that we're all in sync. Sometimes you have to highlight specific, I would say, well, I guess mistakes that have occurred, or any sort of discrepancies in terms of like what you have as a protocol or a guideline or a rule at your facility. So you don't want to point anybody out. You don't want to embarrass anybody. Of course, depending on how big or small your company is, if you mention a specific example, it may or may not be that everybody will know what you're talking about and who was involved. But again, if there's a certain way in alignment with your own culture that you can portray an example to prove a point without making anybody feel bad or singling anybody out. And so you want to make sure the goal of the meeting is to align everybody, make sure that we're all on the same page, highlight any rooms for improvement from here going forward, and then of course institute a vision going forward. So you are going to sort of outline what the topics are for the meeting, go through the guidelines as a reminder to people, as well as any new guidelines, and mention any examples that are good for showing areas of improvement, and then from there showing, or at least going over, what the future holds. And then of course, most importantly probably, is opening up the floor for questions or concerns or comments. And questions, concerns, or comments are a huge part of it. It'll reflect how much the staff members care about this meeting and what the information is. That their questions or inquiries during the meeting have, I think, a direct correlation to how much they actually view themselves as being a part of the process in your facility. And also, they'll frequently bring up aspects of the meeting that were forgotten, or topics that should have been spoken about, or they'll bring to light other issues that no one knew about. And so these things will only aim to help improve the meeting quality itself. And then you talk about the future and what you want to do. People hate meetings because, well, the most obvious thing is scheduling. You have to get a bunch of people together to all show up the same day and same time. They have to show up on time, stay the entire time, and no matter how long it is, and of course be somewhat engaged during the entire process. So that can be very difficult. It ends up being that certain people, the majority of people probably, are going to have to show up on their day off. They may or may not be getting financially compensated for it. You may or may not be getting fed during it. Food and drinks, just depends on what your facility wants to do. So it's kind of a drag, especially if you have to come in on your day off. And then of course everybody who's involved with the meeting, if they are supposed to be working that day or during that shift, then of course they will not be working while the meeting's happening. And so you have the portion of the hospital that is now not being covered by the staff that's supposed to be covering it. So you end up becoming understaffed for the next few minutes, hours, however long your meeting is going to be. So nobody likes to come into meetings for scheduling reasons. And of course, depending on how your culture in the hospital facility is, if you have a culture environment that is on the negative side, then of course folks go to meetings with this negative mindset, and so they think that the meeting is meant to interrogate or to single out or to belittle, and of course that's not, in my opinion, what meetings are supposed to be about. And so if you have a sort of inherent fear for folks that are going to meetings, then that's not good, and they don't want to go. Nobody wants to go to meetings where they feel like they're going to be singled out or made fun of or belittled or any kind of thing like that. So scheduling is always a problem, and lack of compensation is a problem. And then of course if there's any fears or concerns regarding the meeting itself, that's always an issue, and so people don't like to go. And then you always end up having like one or two individuals that are sort of talking at everybody, so it becomes this kind of long, drawn out, boring lecture type style, which most people don't enjoy, especially if they're not there voluntarily, or they feel like the meeting doesn't concern them, or they don't need to be there, or whatever it is. It all plays into culture, you know. Meetings seldom are very fun, but they have to happen, and they have to happen on a semi-frequent, or rather frequent basis. So they're a necessary evil, and the more you can make it sort of an inviting, enjoyable process, the better for everybody, including those who are in charge of the meeting. This is not just for those folks that are that have to be there, or support staff, let's say, but also the people who are in charge of the meeting. It's got to be fun for them too. It's got to be engaging for them as well. So at TrueCare, we have specific meetings tailored towards different departments. So we have like a receptionist and doctor assistant meeting. We've got especially meetings between internal medicine doctor and their staff, or the surgeons and their staff. You have emergency doctor meetings as well. You have hospital-wide meetings where everybody is there. We'll have partner meetings where the few of us, the owners of the practice, are involved with the meetings. So that's also another, that's what we focus on at the hospital, and these are on a fairly regular basis. You know, some could be as like our partners meeting are basically every other week. There are other meetings that are quarterly. There are some that are less than that. So it just depends on need and how we want to sort of run things. But I would say on the whole, I've attended a lot of these meetings since I've taken on as chief of specialty at TrueCare, and I would say that our support staff are actually quite engaged during the meetings, and they are heavily involved. Their input is quite valued. They bring up questions and concerns and comments all the time, and in no way is it at all malignant or pathologic. It's always sort of a building up of the information that's presented at the meeting. So it's really, really very good. And yeah, you still have the scheduling issues, and we do usually have food and drink available. It kind of depends on the day of the week and the time. Sometimes it's not possible to do that, but we'll try to have food and drink there. We try to have an outline to the meeting, and then we have the individuals that are representative of the supervisor positions be the ones that are speaking. The support staff tends to be overall fairly receptive to the information, also quite engaged. So it seems that we're doing something right. I think the foundation really comes down to positive culture, which is paramount to any business, and veterinary medicine is absolutely not an exception at all. The culture needs to be positive. It needs to be a positive culture that from there everything else stems, and meetings are just one aspect of that. But you need to have that culture in order for these meetings to be successful and to be as enjoyable as they can be. So I hope this video helps. Let me know if there are any questions or comments in the description below, and we'll see you in the next video. This is Dr. Ireifej, TrueCare for Pets, Studio City, Los Angeles, Vet Talks. Let's pause for a minute. Thank you so much.